Today, Ether crosses above $3,000 for the first time in nearly 2 years. And Sandy Kaul of Franklin Templeton discusses the asset manager's decision to enter the competitive Bitcoin ETF space with its EZBC product. Welcome to CNBC's Crypto World. I'm Jordan Smith. Cryptocurrencies are in the red as we come off the holiday weekend, with Bitcoin trading at about $51,400. That's well off the weekend lows of about $50,700 from Saturday. Ether, meanwhile, trading flat at $28.96 this morning, but actually crossed above $3,000 earlier in the day, and that's its first time above the $3,000 mark since April of 2022. Then there's Solana, which sank nearly 6% this morning to 106. Now, turning our attention over to Wall Street, Coinbase is moving lower this morning after that post-earnings rally last week. Same with Robinhood, which is lower by about 1% at midday. Marathon Digital falling nearly 12% this morning amid that drawdown in crypto markets. That pressure on Bitcoin is, of course, also hitting the spot Bitcoin ETFs this morning, but they continue to see strong inflows. CoinShares found that nearly $2.5 billion flowed into digital asset investment products last week. All right, let's jump right into our main story. On Friday, I spoke with Sandy Kaul, the global head of digital assets and investment advisory services for Franklin Templeton. I asked her about the performance of the asset manager's EZBC spot Bitcoin ETF and whether we should expect to see more crypto ETF products on U.S. exchanges after the company filed for a spot Ether ETF. So Franklin Templeton, among nearly a dozen asset managers bringing Bitcoin ETFs to market last month. Talk to me about how it's going so far, how you feel about EZBC, your ETF, and its ability to closely track the price of Bitcoin so far.
Great. Well, thank you for having us. We have been very excited at Franklin Templeton about the success of our EZBC product, primarily because this is a brand new type of investment that is really bringing together the crypto world with the traditional financial world. And it has some nuances that have never really been attempted before in an ETF wrapper that we had faith would work, but it's always nice to see a month in that it is working as expected. We've been super pleased with the mechanics of how the ETF is tracking the underlying index and price of Bitcoin. We've been very pleased with how we are seeing steady growth in our product. And we are anticipating, really seeing these offerings move into the advisor channel where we will be doing most of our asset building over the coming months. So we're in the midst of working with advisors to really help them understand the investment thesis, the product, and how it fits into their portfolio.
Yeah, I want to talk about that thesis in just a moment, but sticking with the competition side of this for just a moment, can you elaborate on why Franklin Templeton thought that this was the right moment to bring a spot Bitcoin product to market right now, especially with so many people also trying the same thing? What about this environment right now made it seem like the right time?
So I think there's three things that have really kind of brought us to this moment in time, right? I think the first is that when people began to get very excited about artificial intelligence last year, it really also opened up the dialogue around the other major, I think, technology innovation that is working to reshape how commerce operates, which is blockchain and the associated blockchain ecosystems, where even having gone through crypto winter, we continue to see steady growth in the adoption and the expansion and the build out of these ecosystems and continued innovation, which is really creating all new models for the industry. So there has been this entire domain of innovation that has been progressing for a decade now, where most investors are unaware of the extent of innovation that's taking place, and they have been unable to access it through channels that they would feel comfortable with, particularly when they work with an advisor. So we think that the investment opportunity itself is becoming better understood. And there is starting to be increased evidence that you really are going to need potentially this blockchain ecosystem to realize the full benefit of AI. So those two innovations are really starting to come together. The second reason that we thought this was the ideal timing is that there are some fundamentals underlying the Bitcoin market itself that are coming into play over the coming months. This has to do with the halving cycle and the idea that as Bitcoin transactions reach certain thresholds, we see the reward being paid to miners cut. That period is coming up. In the past, this has led to price increases. You never know. Past performance is never a guarantee of the future, but there is hope and expectation that there might be some impact on the pricing because you are going to see the supply potentially decrease, the pace of supply creation. And then I think the third reason that people have become very interested in this is that we are going through an increased period of geopolitical uncertainty. And there has started to be in many nations that are experiencing economic impacts from that uncertainty, increased interest in using Bitcoin and using cryptocurrencies to help protect their wealth, to help create a better way to move payments and remittances cross-border, and to help manage some of the high inflation in some countries, and just as hopefully a store of value in case of uncertainty. So I think those three factors came together that really made this great timing. And we have been engaged in the space for quite some time, but we thought the ETF would be a nice addition to our product offerings that could open this up, this opportunity up to more folks.
Yeah, you led me perfectly into investment strategy. I mean, where does this ETF fit into a diversified portfolio, especially in this period, as you mentioned, where people are worried about lingering inflation, rates remaining higher for longer, and some of the geopolitical risks that have been going on for a couple of years now? Where does this ETF fit in that strategy?
Yeah, I mean, one of the reasons we've been really fixated on building out our capabilities in this whole crypto domain has been because we believe that there needs to be greater diversification in investor portfolios, right? We have seen, particularly for individual investors, most of that portfolio exposure limited to just stocks or bonds. We have not seen them benefit from the same benefits that institutional and very high net worth investors have been able to benefit from in terms of diversification into alternatives. And many of the alternative products that are being reconstituted and aimed at the wealth channel are still semi-illiquid or a little bit more difficult to understand. Whereas we think this Bitcoin ETF creates an alternative exposure that people can put into the portfolio that is highly liquid, that will allow them to really begin to take some of that high concentration of vulnerability to just equity market prices and equity risk out of their portfolio. So we think that there is some true diversification benefit and this ability to get into a new asset class by being able to move into these investments.
You guys have filed for a spot Ether ETF, and I won't ask you to comment on that specific filing while it's in process, but more broadly, do you expect that Wall Street has a bigger appetite for crypto products beyond just Bitcoin? And do you see maybe not just Ether, but crypto as a whole becoming more of a strategy for Wall Street players?
100%. I think that as the investment thesis becomes better understood and people realize that these are not speculative interests, these are actually representations of value of a network. The appetite to own that network and to own the different networks that are emerging and the infrastructure that they are providing for really running the next phase of the economy, that appetite will grow. And I think that as that understanding and appetite grows, you will see the product suite grow and the access options grow as well.
All right, that's all for Crypto World today. We'll be back again tomorrow, and we'll see you then.